Hi, everybody. We're going to get going in a minute, so hopefully you can hear me. This is Jen. This is our first webinar, so we're very excited and a little nervous, so hopefully all the technology works and you can follow along. But welcome to today's session. My name is Jen Cafferty. I'm CEO of the Gluten-Free Media Group, and I will be your moderator for today's session. We really would like to hear from you and want to make sure that your voice is included in the conversation today. So please ask questions, share your comments. On the right side of your screen should be a question and answer panel. So if you can actually just take a second and maybe tell us where you're calling in from, we can make sure that that Q&A panel is working. We also are going to have a few poll questions that will pop up on your screen. Today we're kicking off our webinar series with the hot topic of Facebook. Even within the Gluten-Free Media Group, I'm always wondering if we're using Facebook to its full potential. I've seen a lot of growth with our expo ticket sales, but I still kind of always wonder what else we could be doing with Facebook and how to grow our sales. So at this point, I am very excited to introduce Samir Shah. Samir has over 20 years of experience in building brands and marketing products, most recently as Vice President of Marketing at Smart Flower Foods, which is where I met Samir. And he really helped take that company's retail presence from 600 stores to nearly 3,500 in under 2 years. Samir excels at developing marketing strategies, and one of his many strengths is digital marketing and public relations. So Samir, welcome, and welcome to all of you, and I will turn the screen and microphone over to you.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that warm introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. Let me just make sure that I am presenting properly. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm excited to be here today and talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is Facebook. In terms of our agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about why Facebook is important as a platform. We'll discuss some of the terminology, Facebook pages, advertising. We'll get into some elements of content strategy, and then we'll also dig into advertising in detail, as well as how to measure and track the success of your Facebook advertising efforts. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. The first slide here talks about why Facebook is important. And in my view, Facebook is important because of two aspects that work very well together and create the unique platform that has become Facebook. And the first element of that importance is the sheer number of people that are using Facebook. So as of their very recent earnings report that came out a couple of weeks ago, Facebook is now approaching 2 billion active users, with a large chunk of those accessing the platform on mobile. As you can see on that graph on the right-hand side, Facebook has grown its active user base every quarter since this chart was started in 2008 and probably even before that. So unlike other social media platforms that have lost users or seen their traction go down, like Twitter, Facebook has always continued to grow. Nowadays, half of the US population is using Facebook, so there is a critical mass of people that are on Facebook, and so that's one big aspect of, and really even in and of itself, that would make Facebook very attractive to marketers. But the second piece that really creates the value is that the users of Facebook have voluntarily provided so much information about their likes, dislikes, preferences, products they buy, brands they appreciate, causes that they're into. And so if you think about marketing in the past, it was a series of market research was usually conducted with surveys, Nielsen boxes on top of people's televisions, annoying phone calls in the middle of dinner, and then now that had some value, but it was a little bit of limited value in the sense that those studies are not as accurate as people actually proactively selecting preferences that they want to follow. So the combination of having all of these people on Facebook, along with all this knowledge and information about their interests, creates this unique platform, and it allows us as brands and as advertisers to slice and dice and target the audiences that we feel will be most relevant to our brands in a way and with an accuracy that has never been possible before. So that being said, now, what are the specific goals that you can hope to achieve by using Facebook? Facebook, to a large extent, on the business side, has become a commercialized platform. And even all the things we do on the personal aspect of Facebook fuel that because of the interests and information that we just talked about that we provide. So Facebook has laid out its value very closely aligned with the marketing funnel, the standard cycle that we're used to. So awareness, engagement, conversions, and actually driving sales are all things that you can accomplish on Facebook. If you have a product that is shelf stable, if you can sell it on Amazon or sell it via shipment in the mail, you can actually drive people to your website or Amazon and get them to make purchases. If you can't do that, then you've got the option to have them download coupons, look for your product online to find out what stores it's in. You can offer discounts, the coupons that they can print and take to the store. So there's a variety of ways to achieve an impact on sales even if you can't ship your product. And then, of course, awareness and engagement, simply making a wider number of people aware of your brand and know who you are, along with getting them to engage with your brand, whether that's watching a video or commenting on posts or just getting to better understand your company and what you do. These are all goals and objectives that we can achieve on Facebook. So before we go too much further, I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. Jen did a great job of providing some of my bio, so I won't spend very long. But I was VP of Marketing at Smart Flower Foods for 3 years, and that sets me apart a little bit from other consultants in this space. I've been in the shoes that you're in. I've worked inside a brand and addressed many of the challenges that come up trying to grow a small company and an up-and-coming food brand. Prior to that, I've been in marketing at other companies like Dell, where I worked on some elements of social media and went through their certification program. My original background is in finance, and that is why I take a very numbers-driven, ROI-oriented approach to anything that I do marketing-wise, but especially in the social and digital realm, I like to apply metrics and ROI to that process. And in terms of a focus area, summarizing all of the things that it says here, my goal and objective is to help emerging brands kind of bridge the gap from when they might identify marketing needs that they have, but it's early or maybe not the right time to bring on a full-time team. I can kind of play that role and help strategize, but also help execute on everything from a general marketing plan to social media strategy to packaging. And my goal is not to stick around forever. When it's the right time, and the right time will come to hire an internal team, I'd like to assist with that process and then hand things over. So next on our agenda here, let's talk a little bit about some of the terms that come up when we're discussing Facebook for brands. And there's a lot of buzzwords that are thrown about in the market, but they're usually pretty easy to understand when you kind of take that buzzword aspect out of it. So, and some of them there's multiple terms for each thing, so hopefully we can clarify some of that. A Facebook page or a business page is really one and the same thing, and that's your brand's Facebook profile. Just like you have a personal profile, this is where your information, your about is stored or shown, displayed, and then you can post updates about your company. And these days, the Facebook page for a brand or for a product has become second only to the website and where people go to learn about the company. And in many cases, I hear all the time brands telling customers, just go to our Facebook page and you'll see all about what we do. At Smart Flower, we used to say that because the website was beautiful, but we also had videos and other relevant content on the page that we didn't have on the website. So I do think that in today's world, it's pretty imperative to have a nice business page at a minimum, even if you're not putting money to post or to do other advertising, just having that as a placeholder, I think, is very important. Posts work about the same in the Facebook page, business page world as they do in the personal, with one big difference, which is when you post something in your personal Facebook feed, most of your fans, most of your friends will see that post. That is not the case on the business side of Facebook. And the reason for that is Facebook is very much a money-making operation. When it went public a few years ago, it got dinged because it didn't have a solid plan for monetizing all of the advertising potential. So Mark Zuckerberg went back to his team, and within a quarter or two, they came back with some changes that have basically made it a pay-to-play platform. So if you post something to your Facebook page, it will show up on your page, and anyone who visits your page will see it. You can always pin it to the top of your page so that if it's an important announcement, it'll stay at the top for as long as you want it to. So if you just got into Walmart, for example, and you want to make sure anyone and everyone that comes to your page sees that first, you can pin it to the top. But that post will not proactively go out into your fans' news feed unless you pay to boost it. And that's something we'll get into in a little bit more detail, but it's important. That's an important point to be aware of. Likes and fans are synonymous. These are people that have proactively expressed interest in your page. They've pushed that little like button, whether that was through an ad that you served up, whether that was just proactively visiting your page. For whatever reason, they have clicked like, and now your feed, your posts will periodically show up in their feed, assuming that they haven't unfollowed you. Boosted posts are posts that you have paid money to promote. So for every time you do a post, Facebook will give you the option to boost it, and you can do that for as much money as you want, and it'll tell you for the amount of money that you're estimating what the anticipated reach will be of that post. Generally, it works the best when a post is boosted but also picks up some organic reach. So, for example, let's say you pay to boost it, someone sees it because you paid, but then they share it to all of their friends, and now it's tacking on some organic reach on top of what you paid to achieve. So I kind of stole the thunder there from the next 2 points, which are organic and paid reach. Organic is simply the likes, the views, the clicks, the shares, any interactions or views that happen without you having to pay for it. Paid reach is the opposite. It's what you pay to achieve. And when you do a boosted post, you will see a little bar at the bottom left of that post if you're an administrator of that page, and it will show you, it's kind of like a bar graph where it'll show you the total amount of reach and how much of that was achieved organically and how much of that was achieved through paid means. Now, while the point stands overall that a post is not going to get a lot of visibility without money put behind it, some posts will do better than others. So if a post is particularly interesting and compelling, starts to get a lot of likes, starts to get a lot of shares, then it will generate organic reach that way. And you will find, if you do this enough, that some posts are very well received and others don't get much organic reach at all. Now, ads are similar to boosted posts in that it's a piece of creative that you put money behind, but the difference is that, for one, ads don't show up on your page, and secondly, they have more specific goals and also more stringent guidelines for how they're set up and what they're trying to achieve. So we'll look at ads in a little bit of detail and what they look like and how they work, but ads are typically considered to be separate from boosted posts, although they will all show up and be reported on in a similar fashion. And then audience is that targeted group of people. Going back to our conversation a couple of slides ago about all the information we have on users, audience is the targeted people that you decide you want to see a particular ad or a particular post. And it's important to point out that that audience can change with every post, every ad that you do. And a lot of advertising and posting will be trial and error to some degree. So you'll want to try different audiences and see which are resonating the most with your product. So this page is elements of a good Facebook page, and this information will be here if you download the presentation after the call. But rather than reading through this, what I'd like to do is switch over to Facebook and actually look at some of two of the pages that I really think are fantastic. So this one is Ellie Cork. It is a small up-and-coming brand based in Los Angeles. They have digital media down to an absolute science. In fact, they held a workshop for some brands a couple of years ago that I attended, and they're a very small team. It's run by a husband and wife, but they have accomplished a tremendous amount in social media, so I thought they would be a good one to start with. Now, their social media strategy is very much commercial in terms of it is designed to drive sales. They do sell their product online and on their site. So this is very much designed to support purchases both online and in the store. And that will be keep that in mind because we'll come back to that in terms of content strategy. I don't always recommend a full commercialized strategy, but it works for them, and we'll kind of get back to that here in a second. First and foremost, let's talk about elements of this page and why it's as good as it is. First and foremost, we've got this beautiful banner image here. It shows the product both in its packaged form, in its open form. These other little props, these spoons, match, they all fit. It's just a great looking image. It is important to have a nice banner image. It doesn't have to be a photograph. It could be something that is designed by a graphic designer, but this is something that's worth putting a little bit of time and effort into. Now, you may have a beautiful picture from a trade show that you took with a camera phone and it just works. So I'm not saying that it has to be professionally done, but oftentimes you will find that these are professionally done even for smaller brands on tighter budgets. Now, from a profile picture standpoint, Ellie Cork always keeps this Ellie logo. It's the same as what's here on the package. Some brands will alternate the profile pictures, as you see some of your friends on Facebook doing. I don't have strong feelings on that one way or the other. There's a big part of me that says, as a new brand, you want to make sure that your logo is kind of burned into the image of anyone that sees it, and that would argue in favor of keeping this the same. On the other hand, if you are introducing a new product, or you have a contest running, or you've got a big event coming up that you want to drive, traffic to, maybe it's the next GFAF show, then I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to swap that out to indicate that specific goal that you're mentioning. Now, the next thing here is the category. This is very easy setting, but it can be missed, and I've seen brands do this wrong. I was working with a restaurant on the West Coast recently, and while they are primarily a fine dining restaurant that happens to have a bar, they had their category set up as bar instead of restaurant. And not only can that hurt you in search results, but it's just confusing to your customers. So you want to make sure you get the category right. Now, along this left nav, you can have, there'll be some standard stuff that Facebook gives you, and then you can also create some custom aspects that go along with this. So I've seen people have a place to sign up for their email newsletter. Some brands will do a welcome page that's designed to speak to the first-time visitor. You can do a fair amount of creative and different things here. And on that slide that I shifted off of, there's a list of a couple of companies that can help you do that very inexpensively, just a few dollars a month, and they've got some online tools that can help optimize that. Now let's look at, first of all, they've got 245,000 fans, which is tremendous. And we'll talk about whether or not that's really important, but at first glance, that's impressive. Now, you can see the posts here. First of all, pretty fresh. This one is 18 hours. They're not a brand that posts every day, and they don't, I think they post weekly at most, but that's okay. We'll talk about that. But this is, kind of illustrating the product. Pretty good, recognition or engagement with that post. Here's a giveaway that they're doing. Now, they ran a video, and video is important to have in your Facebook page. And this video, when it was posted, had something like 195,000 views. Now, I haven't watched this video in detail, but it looks like there was some money put behind the creation of it. So they absolutely put money behind getting this many views of this video. And so the overall budget for this video had to have included budget for views. It's not going to say it's impossible, but it's very unlikely that you can achieve this many interactions with the video just organically. Keep in mind, however, that Facebook identifies or calls a view watching, just like 5 or 10 seconds of it. So that doesn't necessarily mean that 195,000 people watch the whole thing, but it means that they at least watch some part of it. One thing I didn't point out here, coupons, Instagram, but also the Shop Now button. If your product is able to be sold online, you absolutely want to have the Shop Now button on your page. Scrolling through a few more of their posts, you can see this one jumps down to April 25th. Again, it's their application of their product yet again. They really don't post much unless it has to do with their product. And that's a strategy that works for them. I don't love that strategy, but there's a lot of people that would tell you that for a brand, it's a-okay to do it that way. And certainly as you start looking at bigger and more commercialized brands, you're going to find that that's pretty much all they do. But I think that for a smaller brand that wants to build engagement with its users, there's value in having other content that isn't just product specific. You'll also see that American Diabetes likes their page. That's important only because their product, which is kind of like yogurt, but it's actually cheese, has a low GI and is designed to be good for diabetics, so it's nice to have that validation. So it's a good strategy to try to get associations of that type to like your page if that's relevant in your space. Now I'm going to switch to, I live in Austin, Texas, and we have a restaurant here called Style Switch Barbecue and Brew. This is I like to show this one because they're smaller, 14,000 likes. It's a little bit more bootstrapped, but I still think they do a great job. They link all of their posts with Instagram, and they just do a good job of showing their product in really appealing and appetizing ways. And I forgive or I apologize if there are any vegetarians on the call, but this is obviously very carnivorous, but it's appealing for their audience. And they also do show some lifestyle imagery. They had a party recently on their patio, so they're showing people, enjoying the party, and then they've got some other aspects of it. But still primarily product focused. It's not all just pictures of barbecue, which I personally wouldn't mind, but could probably get old. But it's primarily commercial and product stuff, which is, again, a little bit of a contrast from what I'm going to suggest here in a moment. So those are two brands that I like. Let's go back over here to our presentation. So I covered most of this here in our look at those pages. You want to make sure the content is relatively fresh, and then here's that list of the companies that can help with the left side customization if that's something you're interested in. So now, an important topic. How important are the number of likes or the fans that your page has? In the early days of Facebook for Business, likes were the primary objective of any brand out there, because the more likes you got was the bigger audience to see your posts. Now that it's switched to that pay-to-play model, the value of likes has gone down considerably. That's not to say that they're unimportant. If you went to a Facebook page and saw that it had 3 likes, you would think, wow, they must have just started, or they're not active anymore, or they never were active. So there is some value, and I have been told by buyers at retail stores that they will go to look at a brand's Facebook page and see how many fans it has as one quick measure of the type of community and following it has in the marketplace. So that's something to think about. Now, I can't give you a number that says you should have this many. Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 15? If I had to be pinned down on that, I would say it's at least 5,000, and I think you start to have diminishing returns after 100K. And that is a very wide range there. But I think that depending on where you are and how much you want to use the platform, you can determine what makes sense, what number makes sense. And the reason that it's an issue is because obtaining and acquiring those likes will require running ads that are designed to get them. And I think the national average is 20 cents a like across all brands. That's going to vary depending on the specifics of your audience and your brand, and if your product is very specialized or if it has more general appeal, etc. Now, this point that I make here with the 3 stars, I cannot stress this enough. Whatever you decide to do in terms of your strategy to obtain or not obtain Facebook fans, don't fall for the folks that will tell you they can get you a high number for a low price. They're almost always in foreign countries. They're people that will never engage with your page, and Facebook will reduce your ranking in the algorithm if you have a big number of likes but very little related engagement. In addition to that, so organic reach is hard enough to get, now you're just making it harder. In addition to that, a big aspect of the value of having fans is to be able to look into their, do the insights and understand their profile, their demographics. Are they men? Are they women? What are their interests? And so if you're obtaining irrelevant likes, you're not going to get that insight. So I am a strong advocate, and I think most people that are involved in Facebook would agree that it's not a good idea to pursue what's called the fake likes. And then the last point there is just use the Insights tool. It's a little tab at the top of your Facebook page when you're logged in as an admin, and it'll tell you how many likes you've received in the last few days versus last week. It'll tell you how many have unliked your page, and then it'll tell you how many are men, how many are women, what cities they're located in, and it'll compare that to the averages on Facebook, so you can sort of understand the difference between your audience and the average Facebook audience, and that can help you design when you're thinking about audiences and designing advertising. So now moving on to content strategy. I've kind of broken this out into two different slides. One is kind of general thoughts about what we should do, and before jumping into social media or even any kind of a digital marketing strategy, a website, email blast, whatever it may be, I think it's important to know your audience. And so it's a good idea to take a step back and map out some of your buyer personas. Does your product resonate with men? Does it resonate with women? Is it more popular with moms? Is it single millennials? Is there an age group? There may be more than one persona. You may have a product that is very popular with men. You may have others that are very popular with kids, and so you're targeting mom. It may vary. And so it's important to think through the various personas that you may be interested in talking to and doing a little bit of homework outlining the types of content, language, imagery that would resonate with each one of those. And if you are struggling with where to start on that, you can download worksheets from the internet just by Googling, where it'll help you kind of fill in some general questions for each persona and outline who they are. But I can't stress this point enough, because if you've developed an understanding of your brand and its value, and now you've kind of applied that to 2 or 3 different personas, your content, your language, your messaging is going to be very impactful and effective and consistent, versus without doing that, it can be a little bit random, haphazard, and not be tied together. And so as your Facebook strategy and content comes together over time, there are going to be certain recurring themes that you're talking about on an ongoing basis, along with immediate or recent information and news that's all kind of coming in there, and it puts together a little bit of a story that is kind of ongoing all the time. And so this will help you come up with that. So before posting anything, before creating a social media calendar, it's important to think through this. In my opinion, I'm a big believer in doing that. Now moving on from there, pictures and videos, very important. Facebook is very much a visual platform at this point in time. Pictures are very worthwhile, especially when it comes to food. You can take so many appetizing, mouth-watering images of your product You can also post those on Instagram, where they have even more impact. And it's worth pointing out that Facebook and Instagram are connected. And so whenever certain posts on Facebook can show up on Instagram, Facebook ads can automatically show up on Instagram. And videos now obviously are a part of Instagram, and there isn't a time limit on the videos anymore. It used to be 20 seconds, but now I think they can be longer. You can post multiple pictures. But it's important to think about most of your posts in terms of some image, and then having text that kind of goes around that. It's okay to have text-only posts periodically, but you want to avoid having that be a majority, just because people will read it sometimes, but a picture that draws their attention will be even more likely to get them to read the text. Tell your company's story and being authentic. This is just a matter of you've mapped out those personas, you determine what your brand's voice is, you want to make sure you're speaking in that voice. And the voice does not have to be one uniform voice. So you can be lighthearted when the occasion is appropriate for lightheartedness, and you can be more serious when it's a more serious topic. And we see this a lot from bigger brands that we're familiar with. They may be very comedic and funny most of the time, but then they decide to post something about a cause. Maybe it's a disease, awareness, or something else that they really have strong feelings about, and they're going to speak about that in a more serious way. They still might put a little humor around it, but generally speaking, they're going to be serious when the time is to be serious. So that's okay. Just make sure you know kind of what your brand's voice is. And if you have multiple people creating content, whether some are in your company and some are outside of your company, make sure that they understand those guidelines and that they can speak effectively to them, so that it doesn't look like multiple people are writing the content. This next point here, I'm a really big fan of this for a number of reasons. I think it's important for every brand to have a little video that explains who they are. All the market research these days indicates that the consumers, the consumer market in general, but especially the consumers that come into products like what we're talking about here, that are organic or gluten-free or clean, the purchasers of those products, especially millennials, they want to have a strong connection with the brand and its mission, and not just have it be about a product that they love. So a good example of that might be, if a company came out and was making a fantastic bar of some kind, like a cereal bar or protein bar or something, but then they found out that the ingredients were sourced in ways that were not fair trade, that the supply chain was kind of corrupt, that people in foreign countries were being taken advantage of. No matter how good that product may taste and how clean the ingredients may be, people are going to run from that brand. On the flip side, the value and the opportunity is talking about those things that are important, explaining that passion and that vision. And so, have your founders, have the president of your company, or even some of the employees talk about why the brand is important, why it's a great place to work, what is the mission. It's more than a job. We're about bringing these clean foods to the marketplace, and this is why we think it's so valuable. Having some customer testimonials in there, a couple of customers trying the product, eating it at a trade show, talking about how wonderful it is, adds a lot of credibility to everything you're talking about. And if the testimonial from the customer even goes as far as to say that I also love what they're doing on this particular issue, then that's even more powerful. Create that video, and when I say short, maybe it's 1.5 minutes, maybe it's 2 minutes, and then it can be broken up into smaller snippets for other purposes like Instagram or other uses. You can put it in an email blast, whatever. But it's nice to have that, and it's even nice as an awareness campaign to run an ad with that video and just put it out there and try to get people to watch it so they can understand what your company is all about. And you may be thinking, that sounds great, but it sounds expensive. It doesn't have to be. If you reach into your network and find, there are a lot of video people that will do moonlighting work for a relatively low cost. Same thing goes with editing. Some of the footage you can shoot yourself. I had created a video like this for Smart Flower, and I shot almost all the footage myself at trade shows. and just with a little $200 handheld digital camcorder. And then I had some friends that were relatively cost effective, do the editing and kind of add some music and make it look a little bit better. And the whole thing was under $1,000. So it really was inexpensive, and it became an asset that we could use. We used it in everything from training our salespeople to actual sales meetings with retail buyers. So I won't say any more, belabor that point, but I think this is something that's short and easy, has a lot of uses, and everybody should do. Don't post daily. This is my personal opinion. It's my strategy. I don't think it's worthwhile. Back in the early days of Facebook, when it was about trying to get likes and trying to generate organic reach, there were some people that advocated posting 3 or 4 times a day and just constantly staying in the minds of your customers. And the way I look at it is, I have friends that post all the time, and after a while it gets a little obnoxious to just see that many posts from the same person. I think the same is true for brands. Post a couple of times a week, but make sure that the posts are meaningful when they're posted. So make it worthwhile, make it something that's worth seeing, but don't do it all the time. And of course, these things ebb and flow. There will be times when you have so much going on that you're posting more often, and there'll be other slower times, and that's okay. As long as when someone visits your page, the last post is no more than a week ago, I think you're in good shape. That shows that you're active, you're around, you're live, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And then, of course, it goes without saying, but it was always my big pet peeve, no typos, no errors. Nothing makes a brand look more amateur, in my opinion, than missing something as simple as proofreading. So the specifics of content strategy, this is where I, again, diverge from the brands that we looked at online. I break it down into thirds, and this is by no means scientific or something that I would actually ever count, but in my mind, I would think that, okay, I want to shoot for about a third of each of these. And the first on the upper left here is the post about your product. That's the stuff we saw on the other page. That's the images of your product, information about it. Did you know it's GMO? Did you know it's gluten-free? Did you know it's organic? New stores, that's huge. You should always, if you get into a new store chain, post that on Facebook. I used to run ads about it too to let people know, and those ads would get a ton of traction in terms of comments and shares and likes and people asking if it was available in their neighborhood or whatever. Coupons, events you're going to, just purely commercial stuff should make up about a third. And again, sometimes that'll be more than that just because you've got a lot going on. You're launching a new product and attending an event and got added into a new store, so it's going to be more commercial. But then balance that over time. And the 2 balance points are, one is just general news. So we operate in an environment with natural and specialty foods where there are health impacts and health considerations and science that validate the importance of our products. So talk about that a little bit. A lot of times I would post it, not talk much about it, and let the users take the content from there, let them come back with the comments and the shares and the discussion, and kind of let that discussion go on, and not even really curate it, just kind of throw it out there for discussion. Some of those posts were the posts that we got the most organic reach on. One in particular, a couple of years ago, there had been a study that had come out, I think it was from the National Institutes of Health, that said that gluten intolerance, not tied to celiac disease, was something that had been proven in a study. And posted that, didn't say much about it, and the reaction was just overwhelming. And that's really good for your brand. It shows engagement. It gets people aware of who you are, it gets them on your page, and it's just, it reinforces the value of your product. So that's important. And then the third thing here at the bottom is just the fun stuff. The memes, the Happy Friday, the picture of the person that just spilled coffee all over themselves in the office. It humanizes the company. It's funny. It makes people think of you as more of a person and not some, monolithic organization that's just trying to sell a product. So I typically look at this in thirds. Again, it's not a science. It doesn't have to be exactly a third, but these are the 3 areas that I try to generally, when I'm creating a strategy, would generally try to think about. If you're in an area where there isn't that much news, that's okay. you may have a little bit more product-centric approach, and that's okay. Just make sure it's not all about your product only all the time. All right, so now having covered kind of all of the aspects of the Facebook page, let's talk about advertising in a bit of detail. So boosted posts, as we mentioned, are like a type of ad, but they're not going to drive those specific objectives. And the objectives that ads can achieve are divided into three categories: awareness, consideration, and conversions. Awareness is typically brand awareness and reach, and so your like ads, the ads you would run to purchase likes, fall into that awareness category. Consideration is traffic, meaning driving people to your website or to some other outside location other than Facebook. App installs, I don't know how relevant this is, but if your company has an app, then you might want to drive people to install it. Engagement is getting people to engage with your posts. Video views is an element of that, but also just commenting and liking and sharing. And then I highlighted lead generation ads because this is something a little bit new to Facebook, and I don't know how many people are doing it, but it can be very effective for a couple of reasons. As the way a lead generation ad works is it's like any other ad where you show a creative, and we'll look at an ad example in a minute, but you show a creative, and when a person clicks on it, rather than immediately going to wherever that's supposed to go, it'll ask them for a minimum information of name and email address. You can create what that form looks like, and you can ask for more information, but if you ask for too much, you risk for people to fall out and just close that and not go forward. But the beauty of these lead generation ads are not only are you generating an email list that you can do email blasts, newsletters, and promotions to, you can later use Facebook's lookalike audience capability to go and have Facebook create for you an audience that mimics the profile of all the people that gave you their emails. So it can be a very powerful way of identifying a target audience. That being said, lead generation ads are a little bit expensive. Can be $1.50, $2 a lead sometimes, depending on which audience you're targeting and how much it costs. But it can, sometimes it can be valuable. I run a fair amount of these, and I've used them to help get a newsletter list started. It was a good starting point. The cost is a little bit prohibitive, and so you can't necessarily use them all the time, but if you have that specific need, it's important to be aware that it's out there. And then the conversions. These are ads that are helped to do product catalog sales, and then they even now have a way to try to drive visits to a store. So if you have a physical location, or even if you want to drive people to a physical grocery store location, Facebook can use its location capability, so it knows where we are at all times because of the location on our phones. A little creepy, but it can be helpful in this case. You can have ads that pop up when a person goes into a geographic radius of a particular store. The real way to maximize this is if a store is having a promo or a sale on that day or a demo, then when someone goes into that in that area, then you can say, hey, by the way, XYZ brand is having a demo and giving away free product at the store until 6 p.m. And then you can see, does that really give you a lift in the store visits? Requires a little coordination, but it can be an effective way to do that. So, and it'll give you some options in there too when you do that to say, is it people that live in this area, people that are passing through this area, people that happen to be in this area right now, etc. So how do brands typically use Facebook ads? The most simple and direct use would be driving people to buy your product on Amazon or your website. On Amazon, it's really interesting because you can have Amazon create an offer code, and you can have that offer code just for that Facebook promotion. And now you can run that ad, and you can see, this kind of gets to the ROI piece, but you can see that it cost X amount to run the ad, and then I gave X discount for that ad, for that purchase. And so I lost, $1.50 of margin, but I was able to generate this many more sales. And I believe it can even tell you how many of those were first-time visitors. So now you've got some amazing information that you can say, okay, if we need to go drive sales, if it's ending a quarter, or if it's, for whatever reason, we need to drive sales in a certain area or just on a day-in, day-out basis, I know that if I apply $1,000 to that, it's going to yield $5,000 in sales, but the margin will be this much lower than it would have been on a regular sale. So that's powerful, quantitative, actionable information that you can use. A lot of what I did before was just driving people to the website to learn more. At SmartFlower, I wasn't in a position, our product was frozen, so we couldn't sell it very easily online, but I could get people to go to the website, download a coupon, and have them land on the product locator page. And then, of course, just the general awareness stuff, letting people see our packaging as much as possible, letting them know who we are, and just trying to burn that package image in their minds so that when they go to the store, they recognize it. My little cloud here on the right, Facebook ads automatically show up on Instagram as long as you have an Instagram account linked and you don't turn that feature off. It is a default feature if you have an Instagram account linked. So that's also another great way to reach more people. Excuse me. When you have general awareness, you can do that in a variety of different ways. Even videos work for that. And then, of course, sometimes you want to use a boosted post instead of an ad. For example, when we would get into a new store, that's something I wanted anyone and everyone to know when they came to our page. So I would do that as a post, pin it to the top for a week or two, but then also boost that out with a significant amount of money behind it to reach the target audience. And that way, that many more people are seeing it, commenting on it. And some of those posts about new stores would just take off and get a tremendous amount of interaction with them. Facebook limits the amount of text you can have in an image and an ad. Audiences we've talked about, but you can create audiences, slice and dice, however you want. You can test multiple audiences against each other, add variables, take out variables. And then the last point here is to keep in mind that an ad is like any other social media piece out there. It will get questions and comments, and those questions and comments need to be responded to in as timely a manner as any other. The guideline I typically set is for most things during the business day, it should be about within 4 hours. And if I was running a really hot ad that had implications for purchasing over the weekend, then I'm going to try to do it within 2 hours and be as responsive on the weekend as I was during the week. But fortunately, with all the tools you can put on your phone, you can do that pretty much from anywhere. Here are some examples of ads, and I was looking around to find some that I really liked. I like these. I can't say that I love them. I've seen some that are better, but they weren't necessarily in food. Just to point out a few elements, they don't allow a lot of verbiage, and you don't want to have a lot of words. The words you do have should be really powerful and impactful with a good call to action that's clear. You can change that call to action too based on the type of ad. So this says like page. It could say learn more. It could say shop now. There's a variety of things that it'll let you do there. And you can see here, that you have a little bit of text used in the ad image, but it's making good use of that. It's only going to allow 20%, which has nothing to do with the 20% that it says, but Facebook's only going to let you have 20% words within the image, and so they've done a good use of that, of incorporating some text into that image. That's a part of this ad I do like, because that's where your ad immediately goes to, and that's what they want you to look at. You get a little bit more space for text at the bottom, but again, especially when you get over to mobile, you're not going to see a lot of that. So it's most important to have a compelling image or video, and then you can have some words around it, but you're relying on the power of the video. So now let's talk a little bit about the measurement and ROI piece. These metrics listed at the top bullet are going to be the things that Facebook will tell you for a boosted post. Reach is the number of people who saw it, impressions. This is how many times the ad was shown. So impressions is basically telling you how many times it was viewed, irrespective of the person. So reach is 10,000 people saw it. Impressions maybe 15,000 because some people saw the ad more than once. That will give you that little bar graph of the organic and paid reach, and then of course it'll tell you clicks, comments, shares, and likes across the board for that post. It's pretty similar for ads, but you'll also get the cost per click or lead or whatever other objective the ad was designed to accomplish. So it'll tell you what it costs to get that goal achieved. And then Ad relevance is something that Facebook will tell you for every ad you run. One's the lowest, 10's the highest, and basically a like, a comment, any positive interaction increases the relevance, and any negative reaction like "don't show me this ad again" takes away, deducts from that. Here is a results screen example. So this is kind of getting into the Facebook ad creation tools, but this was for a campaign I was running for a client in on the West Coast recently, and this was just a general traffic ad that I was running. It was a static image. I had another one that was a video, but these little arrows just point out to the key pieces that you're interested in looking at. So it reached 12,800 people, which amounted to 17,600 impressions, 174 link clicks. That's 174 to that call to action link. And then you've got this other click here, which is telling you how many total times anybody clicked anywhere on the image or the ad at any place. Cost per result, 40 cents per click. I was pretty happy with that. A really, really good number would be like 25, but 40 is pretty solid. Ad relevance was 5. It could have been better. I'll play around with that and do some different iterations to figure out if I can increase that amount. I have run ads in the past that have been 7, 8, 9. It just depends. It depends on the audience. It depends on the ad. There's a lot of variables. And that kind of gets to this last point, which is this is going to be an iterative process. So you aren't going to figure this all out on the first go. So as you're planning your budget and your timing, make sure you're aware of the fact that you're going to need to add, you're going to need to run different ads, several times before you figure out what works the best for your company. Now, interpreting the metrics, what does all this mean? How do you figure out from these metrics whether or not it really generated what you wanted it to do? So cost per click is important, or cost per objective, and the lower is typically better, but sometimes it'll cost a little bit more if you've got a more refined audience, but those clicks might be more meaningful. So definitely look at cost per click. It's the most important of all of what Facebook tells you that I look at. Reach and impressions, they're important to me, but it'll tell you when you start the ad, when you're planning it before you launch it, what the expected reach is. So you just want to make sure that the expected and the actual fell in line. That's really not telling you that much. To me, what really matters is not just the metrics that Facebook's telling you, but did your sales increase? Are you seeing an uptick in searches for your product on your website? Are more people spending longer times on your website? Whatever those goals are those truly happening? That's how you measure the ROI. Kind of that example I gave of ran a Facebook ad to drive to Amazon. Did it increase the sales? If so, by how much? How much did I have to eat in terms of the discount and the cost of the ad? And am I happy with that? That to me is a better way of measuring the ROI, and that'll of course depend and vary by every ad that you run, because you'll have a different objective potentially at different metrics. So we're approaching the end of the conversation today. I wanted to point out there's a lot of topics we didn't get into, and we can do a follow-up session, but there's a lot more here. Tracking pixels are ways to track people and to be able to convert people who visit to your website and add them to audiences. There's Facebook offers. Excuse me. There's a new split testing feature. Then there's a whole Google Analytics piece of this to analyze the activity that Facebook is generating for you, and it goes on and on. So there's a lot more that we could get into. Given that this was meant to be kind of the first volume, the general discussion, I wanted to try to cover as much as possible, but not go into too much detail in any one area. And then last, some resources for further information. These are a couple of websites that I think are pretty good for marketers, and it gives you a lot of good information. John Loomer, Social Media Examiner. Facebook has a ton of their own content, videos. They even have a community where people like us are asking questions, and then other people like us are answering. I think all that is very valuable. And then I am also a resource. If you'd like to get in touch with me, my contact information is on here. Jen also has it, and you'll have the ability to download this presentation as well, and we can get some information, or you can get my information that way. So that being said, I think we can transition to some Q&A.
So thanks, Samir. Does anybody have any questions? If you do, you can type those in right now. And I don't even know if anybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Do you think anyone else can? Is anyone there? Type yes if you can hear us. Yay, you can hear. Thanks, Travis. So if there's any questions, please let us know. And if we don't get them, the answers to you today, Samir is happy to get back to you. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to be with us this hour. Like I said, this is our first webinar, so I'm happy that it went so well. We will be trying to offer a webinar every month on different topics and really trying to help you grow your business in ways where you don't necessarily have to go to a whole conference. A lot of people ask me questions and I don't have the answers, but what I do have are connections to people that do have the answers. So my goal is to connect you with those people and keep you educated in ways that keep you growing your business. So thank you so much, and we will send out a recap of this for everybody, as well as our next webinar coming up in a few weeks. So I hope you all have a great day, and thanks again.